All right, let's dive into the origins of Santa Claus. I mean, we all know him, right? That jolly, white-bearded guy squeezing down chimneys. But there's more to him than meets the eye. Did you know there's some Dutch influence mixed in there, too?
Absolutely.
So get ready, because today we're going to explore how a 4th century bishop transformed into the modern-day Santa.
It's a really fascinating story.
And we'll tackle that big question. How did chimneys become Santa's preferred entry point?
We've got some really interesting sources that shed light on that.
So let's unpack this. Where do we even begin with this guy?
Well, it all starts with a real person, a historical figure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. St. Nicholas
Okay.
lived in what's now Turkey,
Hmm.
and he was known for his incredible generosity, especially towards children.
I see.
You might have heard the story about him secretly providing dowries for those 3 poor sisters.
Vaguely remind me.
It basically saved them from being sold into servitude.
Wow. That's pretty selfless.
And that act of kindness, small as it may seem, laid the foundation for Santa's entire gift-giving persona.
So you're saying that one story has echoed through all these centuries?
Exactly. It shows how powerful even the smallest acts can be. This story became a core part of the St. Nicholas legend, basically setting the stage for the Santa we know today.
But how did we go from a bishop in Turkey to the Santa we picture?
Well, that's where things take a fascinating turn. The story heads to the Netherlands.
Okay.
St. Nicholas actually evolved into, get this, Sinterklaas.
Sinterklaas.
Yep. A figure who arrives every year by steamboat from Spain.
By steamboat.
That's right, showering children with gifts on December 5th.
Interesting. It's like a pre-Santa Claus?
Precisely. And when Dutch settlers came to America back in the 18th century, they brought this Sinterklaas tradition with them. Over time, Sinterklaas gradually morphed into the Santa Claus we know today.
Wow, so we have this foundation of generosity from St. Nicholas, then the Dutch influence with Sinterklaas. But Santa's more than just a gift giver. How did he become this icon?
That's where literature and art come in. You know, A Visit from St. Nicholas.
You mean 'Twas the Night Before Christmas?
Exactly. Penned by Clement Clarke Moore back in 1822.
It's such a classic.
Right. That poem was instrumental in shaping how we see Santa today.
I can practically hear those sleigh bells ringing just thinking about it.
Me too. It gave us Santa's sleigh, his reindeer, the whole 9 yards. Even solidified that jolly elf-like image. The poem even describes him jumping on the roof, which really cemented the idea of Santa entering through the chimney.
So before this poem, the chimney wasn't a common thing for Santa.
It existed in some folklore, but Moore's poem really popularized it.
Yeah.
Then you've got Thomas Nast, a 19th century political cartoonist.
Oh, I've seen those illustrations.
So iconic, right?
Yeah, Santa in his red suit, big belly, the whole image.
Those illustrations really cemented Santa's appearance in the public imagination. This Santa was large, bearded, and sported that now familiar red suit with a white fur trim. It really reinforced Santa's role as, well, a symbol of generosity.
Okay, so we have Santa's looks and personality evolving, but why the chimney? I mean, there are other ways to get into a house.
Right.
It's an interesting choice.
Well, the chimney is fascinating. It's a mix of folklore and, well, I guess practicality, too.
How so?
One story goes that St. Nicholas tossed gold coins down chimneys to help struggling families.
A secret Santa even back then.
Exactly. It actually ties into even older European folklore.
Really?
Yeah, where they believed magical beings traveled through chimneys. Imagine medieval Europe. Chimneys were vital during winter. So this magical figure entering through such an important part of the home, it's pretty symbolic.
It makes sense. Practical and magical at the same time.
Exactly. Plus, Clement Clarke Moore's poem definitely romanticized the whole image of Santa landing on rooftops with his sleigh.
So the chimney's more than just an entry point. What about stockings? There's classic as Santa himself.
They go hand in hand with the whole chimney thing.
How so?
Back then, children would dry their damp stockings by the fire. Over time, this evolved into the tradition of Santa filling those stockings while coming down the chimney.
It's like all these traditions are linked together, originating from that one central point.
Exactly. It shows the connection back to St. Nicholas and the generosity he represents.
So Santa's appearance and story are pretty much set at this point. But we all know his image continued to evolve.
You're thinking about Coca-Cola, aren't you?
Those ads are iconic.
They really are. Coca-Cola's campaigns in the 1930s really cemented the jolly red-suited Santa we know today.
And of course, the color scheme just happened to match their brand.
Convenient, right.
So even Santa's suit color has this whole commercial backstory.
It just goes to show how cultural icons are shaped by the world around them.
It's amazing, right? We start with a 4th century bishop, then the Dutch tradition comes in, poems and illustrations shape the image further, and even a corporate makeover thrown in. But before we move on, I want to go back to that chimney for a second. We've talked about how it became Santa's entry point. But what does it all mean?
It's a great question. I think the chimney symbolizes more than just a way to get inside a house. It represents something deeper, about belief, imagination, even the spirit of giving.
Okay.
It's like a passageway connecting the cold outside world to the warmth and safety of home. It's where smoke rises, carrying, wishes and dreams upward. It's also a place of transformation. Fire turns wood to ash, creating light and warmth in the process.
So you're saying the chimney is a metaphor.
Exactly.
So in the Santa Claus story, could the chimney be a symbol of how belief and imagination can transform us?
Precisely. It's about believing in something beyond what we see, letting magic and wonder into our lives.
And just as fire transforms wood into warmth and light, believing in Santa could transform us too, making us kinder, more generous.
That's a beautiful way to put it. The chimney acts as a conduit for that internal transformation at the heart of the Santa Claus story. Right. It's not just about receiving. It's about embracing the spirit of giving, believing in something larger than ourselves.
It's a powerful message, especially when the world can feel a bit cynical.
Exactly. Stories like Santa Claus remind us of the good in the world.
That's so true. We've reached the bottom of the chimney for part 1 of our deep dive. We started with a historical figure and saw how centuries of traditions and influences led us to the Santa Claus we know today.
And we uncovered that the chimney, far from just being a quirky detail, acts as a symbol of transformation and the power of believing in something greater than ourselves.
But our exploration doesn't end here. We'll be back soon to dive even deeper into Santa Claus and how he continues to evolve even today. Welcome back to our deep dive, everyone. So last time we were talking about Santa Claus, we uncovered his origins, right? From St. Nicholas to that Dutch Sinterklaas, and how literature and art shaped his image. But I'm curious, what does Santa really represent beyond, gifts and chimneys?
That's a great question. It's fascinating how Santa has become this global symbol of joy, generosity, that whole magic of Christmas. He's more than a delivery guy. He embodies a whole set of values and beliefs, and those resonate with people all over the world.
That's true. It's like that selfless giving we all kind of strive for, going above and beyond to bring happiness to others. And it's interesting how that message seems to, transcend cultures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even in places where Christmas isn't the main holiday, Santa's image still carries that message, generosity, goodwill,
Right.
He's become this unifying figure, a symbol of something we all aspire to, I think.
Kindness, compassion,
Yeah.
the joy of giving.
It's like he cuts through all the noise and reminds us of those shared values that, connect us as humans.
You're right. But it's not just about the presents, is it?
Of course not.
There's also that element of, magic and wonder.
Especially for kids.
Yeah.
The belief in Santa Claus, it taps into that pure childhood sense of wonder.
Right.
Possibility. It lets kids believe in something bigger than themselves, something magical, extraordinary. It encourages imagination, creativity, and it teaches them about hope, about belief.
I remember as a kid, the holidays felt so full of possibility, like anything could happen.
That's the magic of it.
Did that feeling fade for you as you got older?
It definitely evolved, but I wouldn't say it disappeared entirely. The realization that Santa isn't literally squeezing down chimneys, that can actually be a positive turning point.
Really? I think for some kids that's a bit, disillusioning.
It can be, sure, but it can also be a moment of growth,
How so?
Lets kids transition from being just recipients of gifts to understanding the real meaning of giving, of generosity.
I see.
It becomes less about the actual presents and more about the spirit of the holidays, what Santa represents.
It's like the Santa Claus story grows with us. As we mature, our understanding of what he symbolizes, that changes too.
Exactly. It's a story that can be appreciated on different levels, from that pure childhood joy of believing to a deeper understanding of his values.
We've talked about Santa's history, his significance in different cultures, but the world's constantly changing. How do you see the Santa Claus story, evolving in the future?
That's a big question.
Yes.
Santa Claus, like any cultural icon, is a reflection of the society that embraces him, right? So as the world changes, so will our interpretations of Santa. and what he stands for.
I'm already seeing some of those shifts, actually. Like, there's a movement towards a more inclusive Santa, reflecting the diversity of the world we live in.
That's a great example. We're seeing Santas of different ethnicities, genders, even abilities. It's a reflection of how society is becoming more inclusive.
Right. I've even seen Santas with solar-powered sleighs, eco-friendly workshops, you know?
It makes sense, right? With climate change and sustainability being such big concerns, it's natural to see those values reflected in how we view Santa.
It's pretty amazing. A figure with roots in the 4th century adapting to the modern world.
It shows how powerful stories are, how they can adapt and evolve.
But Santa isn't without criticism, is he?
You're right.
Some people say he commercializes the holidays.
Yeah, that it takes away from the original meaning.
Others say the pressure to create this whole elaborate Santa experience. It can be stressful for families.
Emotionally, financially.
It's true. I guess with any tradition, finding that balance is key. Making sure it aligns with our values.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a personal choice for each family to decide how they celebrate and what role, if any, Santa plays.
I think the important thing is to remember what Santa represents at his core. Generosity, kindness, that joy of giving.
Those are ideals we can all strive for,
Right.
regardless of how we celebrate.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, how do you envision the Santa story evolving? What values do you think he'll represent in the future?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth thinking about. After all, Santa is a reflection of ourselves. As we change, he will too.
Right.
Maybe he'll come to represent more unity, compassion, global responsibility, even...
Those are certainly values that resonate in today's world. We've covered a lot of ground in this part of our exploration. Santa's global impact, the deeper meaning he holds, even his future. All right, welcome back to our Santa deep dive. We're on the final part of our exploration here. Last time we were talking about, Santa's global impact, that deeper meaning he holds, even his future. But there's this one element we keep coming back to, the chimney. It's more than just a quirky detail, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've talked about the chimney's practical and magical roots, but I think there's an even deeper layer we haven't fully explored.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
What if the chimney represents something even more profound? Something about our relationship with belief, imagination, and generosity.
We did touch on the chimney as a metaphor in the last part. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure, think about the chimney's role for a moment. Yeah. It's this passage, right? It connects the outside world to the warmth and intimacy of a home. It's where smoke rises, carrying all those wishes and dreams upward. And it's also a place of transformation. Fire changes wood to ash, creating warmth and light.
I see where you're going with this. Applying that to the Santa Claus story, the chimney could symbolize how belief and imagination can actually transform our lives.
Exactly. It's that leap of faith, that willingness to embrace something beyond the tangible, the everyday. It's about letting magic and wonder into our lives, even if it means suspending disbelief for a bit.
And just as fire transforms wood into warmth and light, maybe believing in Santa can transform our hearts too, make us more generous, more compassionate.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's that inner transformation that lies at the heart of the Santa Claus story, really. It's not just about those gifts. It's about embracing the spirit of giving, believing in something larger than ourselves.
It's a powerful message, especially in a world that can sometimes feel, cynical.
Exactly. Stories like Santa Claus remind us of the hope, the good.
They do. They really do. So the chimney's this symbol, encouraging us to keep that passageway open, right? To let the wonder and magic in, and let ourselves be transformed by generosity and kindness.
Absolutely. The chimney is an invitation, I think, to embrace that spirit of giving, believe in the power of generosity, and never lose sight of the joy that comes from making others happy.
Well, I think we've finally reached the bottom of the chimney. What a journey it's been. We started with a historical figure, traveled through centuries of traditions, and ended up exploring the deeper meaning behind, a seemingly simple detail, the chimney.
And we discovered that the story of Santa Claus, it's much more than just a charming holiday tale. It reflects our values, our beliefs, our hopes. It's a reminder to cherish imagination, to believe in the good in the world, and to never underestimate the power of generosity and kindness.
I love that. Well, as we climb out of this deep dive, I hope you all carry a bit of that warmth and wonder with you. May your own chimneys always be open to the magic and joy of the holiday season.
That's a great way to put it. Happy holidays, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world around us.